good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Nerd Coast Nostra, and this is Reign of Horror. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day. I am having a good day, far better than I deserve. But again, nonetheless, I hope everyone else is having a good day, and hopefully you are having a good week thus far. As always, it wouldn't be a horror show. It wouldn't be a horror week without some level of conspiracy theory out there for some of the films that we have all come to enjoy and love, especially when they continue on with a franchise or an IP and continue to add new stories that don't necessarily fall within the timeline, right? It's from the last film that we get or the last TV series that we get. It always tends to mix things up or kind of, I don't want to say mess them up, but it definitely mixes things up when you have an established timeline and then new content, whether it's movies or a TV show, comes out and it falls somewhere in between the films or shows that have already released, or it turns out to be a prequel. And then it starts to mess with, well, wait a minute, that wouldn't make sense. Or wait a minute, you've told a story one way. Now with this happening, none of that makes sense, and we're still within the same timeline. So we're going to cover off on one of those theories with one of the franchises that's been very hot lately, that has kind of been rejuvenated, so to speak, through one of their more recent feature films. They have they have a series coming out on Hulu next year, so they are definitely revitalizing this franchise. It's getting a lot more attention, rightfully so. Like I've said before, if you can ride the wave of the franchise and make some money off doing it, then do it until you can't do it any longer. But recognize though when it's done. Recognize when the time has come where hey, the wave is gone. Time to pack it in and go home. I think that's what some franchises lack to understand. Then, as I've done on many other episodes, and I will continue to do, I always come across some interesting top 10 list, or best of the worst list, or worst of the best list. I always find entertaining and intriguing. So we have one of those tonight off a franchise that has been made, was popular, I think, with a subset of us horror fans, but I think has gained a lot more popularity with its recent franchise film release last month, and now with the success of that, it's definitely going to get another sequel. It's just a matter of what that sequel will be about, and is it possible for one after that? I don't necessarily think so. I think the fourth film will probably be the last film, but again, that's me. And then we have an upcoming film. I think lately there's this film that we're gonna look at tonight, and we have a trailer for it. Trailer dropped a few hours ago for it. This film and a film I mentioned in a previous episode, I think it was Devil's Stay. I think that's what it was called. Let me check my. Yeah, Devil's Stay was what it was called. It was a Korean exorcism horror film that flew completely under the radar. I had not heard of it, wasn't expecting it, but when I saw the trailer, I was intrigued. I was bought in. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to watch it. And then, so all that to say is, I came across another one, not coming out of Korea, but a completely separate film that again flew under the radar. Had not heard of it. Just happened to be, doing my normal reading and searches today and seeing what was going on in the horror community, and came across this film. And again, it dropped a trailer, and I haven't seen anybody talking about it like the other film I mentioned, Devil's Stay. No one really talking about it. No one knows that it's really coming. But I think, like Devil's Stay, this one needs some attention as well. And it looks great. It's a black and white film. Don't see many of those coming out, period, let alone in the horror genre. So I am happy that we're getting one of those in the horror genre. a current, up-to-date black and white film. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at that trailer and let me know what you all think. If you're interested, if it's something that's intriguing you, because the brief bit I read about it, it has my attention. So again, that's why we're going to look at the trailer tonight. But before we get into the details, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, and if you have any comments, any thoughts or about what we cover here tonight, or any previous shows, or something you would like to see us cover, just drop a comment in the comment section, and we will take a look at that and look to see what we can incorporate in future episodes. All right, so let's get right into our first topic of the evening. Again, we all love a conspiracy theory. I love conspiracy theories. I'm always intrigued. I'll listen to them. Whether you believe we landed on the moon or not, whether you believe Bigfoot's real, like I said, I'll hear you out. What do you have? So when we think about our genre, we think about this particular franchise. We already, now with the recent release of Alien Prometheus, not Alien, oh my gosh, Alien Romulus Prometheus, because it's right in front of me, I'm reading it. So Alien Romulus, that released earlier, a couple months ago. And we have Alien Earth coming out on Hulu next year. Now the things start to, I think, get kind of, the water starts to get a little murky. The water starts to get a little gray, hard to see through when you start thinking about what stories have been told already and abandoned, because we had Prometheus, we had Covenant, and then we were supposed to get 2 more films after Covenant, which eventually were abandoned. So it makes you wonder then, the new stories that are being told, especially with Alien Earth supposed to be a prequel to all of this, how does it now keep in line with everything we know? So I came across this one. Upcoming Alien TV show, which is Alien Earth, is what I was mentioning, is all but confirmed to make an old David theory true 13 years after Prometheus. So this one this particular topic we're going to read through a little bit, just so we don't really miss anything, but if it's something obvious, we'll just scan right past it. So Noah Hawley's upcoming Alien Earth is expected to feature at least one xenomorph on planet Earth, which will either rewrite Prometheus's placement in the franchise's timeline, or confirm an old fan theory about David. Alien bringing its titular monster to Earth has been done before, from comics to Alien vs. Predator. However, if there were to be tiers of canon in Alien, as there once were for Star Wars, neither Alien vs. Predator nor the comics are as canon as the movies. This is why Alien Earth's premise is such a big deal. So far, it's unclear how much of the Alien timeline the upcoming show will reckon, if at all, still considering that Ripley's entire mission is most of the Alien movies was to stop the alien creature from ever coming close to Earth. The FX series will have to find a clever way to explain how there has been a xenomorph on Earth before. While the exact timeline of the show hasn't been confirmed yet, Alien Earth will take place before the events of the first Alien movie, presumably around the same time as Prometheus. Now we get into the David aspect. So here, it's Alien Earth's timeline means David can't have created the xenomorph. And if you've seen Covenant, or if you've seen Prometheus or Covenant, you would understand that statement, right? A popular theory is that David only reverse engineered what already existed. It's been reported that Alien Earth will be set around 70 years before Alien, which was for us was 1979 release, which would place the show 1 year before the main events of Prometheus. The corollary of this is that David could not possibly have created the xenomorph if there was already an alien on Earth before Prometheus's mission encountered the engineers. Ever since Ridley Scott's Alien prequels came out, it has been widely discussed whether David is or not the creator of the xenomorph. Alien Earth is all but sure to confirm that the xenomorph already existed before David's experiments. The events of, and this is a quote notes on it. The events of Prometheus and Covenant can be interpreted in 2 ways. Either David created the xenomorph species that we first met in 1979's Alien, or he reverse engineered something that already existed. Both options have pros and cons when it comes to the Alien canon, but it's becoming more and more obvious that David cannot possibly have created the xenomorph species. Any other option would make the Alien franchise a whole lot more complicated, especially with the arrival of Alien Earth. So that's I mean, we pretty much ended right there. So I mean, this is my issue when you get into the whole prequel world, right? When you start whether it's a TV series that you're putting a prequel out to support movies that have been out there, again, like this one has been out there since 1979, the first film, or you start doing feature films that are prequels, like Alien Romulus, which is supposed to happen between the events of Alien, the first film, and Aliens, the second film. That one's a bit, I think with something like that, it's a bit easier to write and develop the story based on what's already happening, because again, you're telling a story of what's happening in between two films, which again is something you can be more plausible to believe, because we already know the xenomorph exists. We saw it in Alien. We know what it's capable of, and we've seen it in other variations of the sequels. But again, this is happening between two existing sequels, so we know the story. Now, when you start bringing in pure prequels like Prometheus, like Covenant, and you have someone like David that makes the audience believe, did he create it, did he not create it? And then years later you say, okay, now we're gonna do an Alien Earth that's gonna come before both of those films. And to the point of the author of the article, we've been led to believe this entire time, from the 79 film, especially the 1980, I think it was 83, 84 film. I can't remember what year Aliens came out, but when the second film came out, that was like one of the major premises, was making sure that they did not get a sample or one of these eggs or the face huggers back to Earth to be researched, because that was Ripley's whole thing, was if it gets back to Earth and it gets loose, it's over. Earth is done for. That whole premise, that whole story, that aspect of that story for that film was, again, with the understanding that a xenomorph or an alien had never been on Earth before. Now with Alien Earth, we're now going to be led to potentially believe that there's been one there this whole time, or somehow they already got there well before the events of Prometheus, Covenant, Aliens, Alien 3, so on and so forth, right? The reason why we don't necessarily touch on Alien versus Predator and the comics is because those tend to make you believe that aliens have been on Earth before, because that's what the Predators were fighting back in ancient days, right? So we're excluding those, as the article is excluding those. They're not necessarily canon to the rest of the films. So it'll be interesting to see this. I mean, I'm interested to see Alien Earth. I'm interested to see when this drops on Hulu. But I'm more interested to see, from a story perspective, how they are going to explain that. If they're going to say no, they've been here this whole time, then we know for a fact that David didn't do what we thought he did. He didn't create them. He just reverse engineered them. So that would definitely, I think, change the outlook of those of us who have seen those films, and those of you who haven't seen those two films, and you happen to watch Alien Earth first, and you kind of know, if that turns out to be the case, that what you happen to see in those two films, you won't be misled to thinking, oh, David was this mad scientist genius that just happened to create a xenomorph, and he really didn't. So we'll see. Again, we're supposed to get this series next year. So we've only recently got two very, very small teasers. Nothing showing much. Nothing giving much away. I think the first one was maybe 10 seconds. The second one that recently released was only maybe 25 seconds. Again, nothing to show us what the show is going to be about, what we can come to expect. So again, and not knowing when next year it's going to release, I think it might be a minute before we even get anything on it. I do hope we'll get something sooner than later, because again, I'm interested to see a little bit more about the show, how it's going to look, how it's going to feel. Do we see a full-grown xenomorph like we've seen in the other Alien franchise films? You know, what's it going to look like? Is it going to be that classic look? So we'll see. We will see. So more to come on this one. All right, jumping into our next topic of the night. 10 biggest theories about Terrifier 4. So this was the other film I was mentioning when it comes to theories. Obviously, we got Terrifier 3 last month. If you didn't know, which I'll be surprised if you are a horror fan and you don't know this, as far as I think it's now made like roughly around 70 million at the box office. I mean, just smashed the budget that was put up against Terrifier 3. Considered just a massive success, not just for the franchise, but I think it's a massive success for the genre, for the horror community. Especially a film like Terrifier, it's not something you would think would probably do that well if you put it in a wide release in a cinema, and not just in the US but international as well. And it did massively successful, and it's led to many other things for the franchise, for the characters. So kudos to them, congrats to them for all the success. But if you have seen Terrifier 3 and you know how it ends, you know there's gonna be a sequel to the film. There's no question about we're gonna get a part 4. Now, whether or not we get a part 5 remains to be seen. But I think part 4, in my opinion, should be where it ends. I don't think we should get anything outside of part 4. I feel the story in part 3 wasn't that it was lacking, but you can tell the story that they were telling was that they were coming to like almost that final act of these characters. Now, unless they finish off with these characters' stories that carried over from Terrifier 2 into Terrifier 3, they finish them off in part 4, and then Art the Clown moves on to a different story that, you know, as far as who the main focus of him will be. I think at that point it might be one of those things where, hey, it's been a great run, but maybe it's time to close the book, or unless they decide to do some spin-offs of some of the other characters, which again I don't necessarily see happening after a part 4, but we'll see. So I wanted to get into these theories real quick. We're gonna run through them fairly quickly just to be respectful of everyone's time, because again there's 10 of them. So, and I'm gonna say this right now, spoilers. If you didn't see Terrifier 3, you're gonna be spoiled. So if you but I think if you were going to see Terrifier 3, you probably would have already seen it, especially if you're a fan. I do know Terrifier 3, I think, hits digital on the 26th of November. So in, 12 days? So a little less than 2 full weeks, it hits digital. So you'll be able to watch it then. But spoiler, there's going to be spoilers on this. So Jonathan isn't actually dead. Selena's younger brother was supposedly killed by Art and Vicky off screen. So yeah, so in part 3, you see him, you see Sienna calling him to get him to come back home, or at least where she's staying with her aunt and uncle. It's Christmas time. I think we all know it was based at a Christmas time. And when the uncle goes to pick him up, he's talking to who he believes is Jonathan on the phone, who turns out we are 100% believe is not Jonathan. It's Vicky throwing her voice to sound like him, and Jonathan really isn't in much of the movie. He's not a main, really. He's really just a very small side character in this film, unlike the second film. And we're led to believe that he is killed towards the end of the film when his head is presented to Sienna, but you can't really tell it's him. We're led to believe it's him, and which the theory is he's not actually dead. We're not going to go through each one of these descriptions as to why. I will put a link to this article in the description of the video, so if you want to get into the actual details, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're just going to run through them at a pretty high level. Next one is Art is mortal again. The demon may have left him when Sienna stabbed him. So while I want to believe that could be the possibility, as you watch the film, especially towards the end, there's enough that happens to Art that makes you believe that that's not the case. So when Vicky dies, we see that happen. Now, whether or not hell, the devil, whatever is punishing Art to stay above ground and not come back into the depths of hell, as where Vicky went and where Gabby is, I don't think he's the demon has left him, so to speak. I think he's still very much the killer now, unless we're saying that the demon was solely only tied to Vicky, because that demon tries possessing Sienna, which doesn't happen, and then when Vicky is killed by Sienna, it goes back into the depths of hell. So now, if we're led to believe when that happened, that whatever entity was around that was controlling Art now was in Vicky is gone, which makes Art now mortal. That theory I could believe, but not just the simple stabbing of Art. So I don't believe that. Sienna is on the highway to hell. So to save her cousin, Sienna will have to visit the biblical hell. So yeah, I agree. I think we're definitely going to see that in part 4. Now this picture here, though, that we're seeing, which was briefly in part 2, but was definitely predominant in the third film. I know there's speculation. I'll be interested to see if it's even on this list, because I haven't gone through this whole list yet. If people believe Art is Sienna's dad, I think this entity, this creature, whatever this is Jonathan and Sienna's dad, because we see a point where it looks like it's a flashback and he's forging the sword that Sienna ends up using in parts 2 and part 3. So again, I think that's the father of Sienna and Jonathan. I could be wrong, but in part 3 there's a few other scenes that make you believe that it is in fact him. So I don't necessarily think Art is their dad. So I just want to call that out now while we're looking at this here. But I do agree with this. She's going to have to go there to get Gabby to save, which is her cousin. Terrifier 4 will be Easter themed. I don't know about that. I would like to see it get back to its roots of the Halloween theme. Happening around Halloween time. I would like to see it get back to that. I wouldn't be surprised, since we've seen Halloween, we've seen Christmas, if they happen to do any to go that route and say screw it, we're going to do an Easter theme. I don't know. It would just be hard for me to see Art the Clown. And so some of the humor that was used in part 3, I didn't find necessarily appealing. Some of the humor that they almost felt like they forced Art to be, it didn't feel like Art the Clown. And now and that was with him being Santa Claus or being around a Santa Claus impersonator. So seeing Art the Clown then interacting with a life-size Easter bunny or something of that nature, I can see them just trying to add a bit more humor, more so than what they've already done with part 3. And for me, for that character, it kind of downgrades the character for me, downgrades how scary and demonic and unforgiving he's supposed to be. So I would hope it's not an Easter theme. I would not want to see that. Let's get back to the roots of a Halloween theme. Sienna finally kills Art. I would agree. I could see that. I mean, it potentially more than likely being the final film. I could see that happening. Or I could see them somehow her killing Art, her taking maybe a very mortal wound, and saving Gabby. Gabby ends up saved, and Sienna ends up perishing as well. So I can see that happening. Art finally kills Sienna. Like I just mentioned, I could see them kind of a 1-in-1. She does something to Art, he does something to her, which doesn't seem to be fatal, and until all of a sudden she realizes like she has this major stab wound close to her heart or close to a vital organ, vein, whatever, something. And then as she has saved Gabby, then they have like that final goodbye, and then she ends up perishing, and then it leaves Gabby, right? So I could see that happening both ways, not just one way or the other. I don't see Art surviving part 4 unless they plan to do a complete spin-off for the character, which again I don't see them doing. Art and Sienna's battle ends in the 9th circle. That I do, because that'd be a callback to the origins of the character and the origins of the franchise. And the 9th circle book was at the end of part 3 by the passenger on the bus. She was reading the book and Art got onto that bus, and the film ends literally soon after that. So I think that was a definite Easter egg, a definite call to where they're gonna go in part 4. So this one I would have fully agree with. Sienna will fight Satan. I don't think so. I think she may fight other demons or demonic or possessed creatures, but I don't see her fighting Satan directly. I mean, she's primarily going down there to fight Art and whatever demonic entity was possessing Vicky. So that I think is more plausible than fighting Satan directly. Don't see that panning out. Art is actually Satan himself. I don't believe that. Nope. I think Art is just another vessel, another entity being used by whatever demon that's possessing him or whatever demon is controlling him. I don't see him as Satan himself. Sienna's father will return. I don't think he'll return in this picture from part 3. I don't think he's going to return in this form. Again, I believe he's that creature that has morphed while he's been in hell this whole time, and he forged that sword. So I think that is the father. I don't think so. If he returns, he's going to return in some way, shape, or form like that, not like what we saw, like he is here when Sienna was a child and he was drawing this comic character or this character for her when she was a child. So I don't see that playing out. And then that's where it wraps up. So let me know what you think. If you agree, if you disagree with any of those theories, what your theories might be, where things might go in the next film. And it's going to be a while. I mean, at least another year and a half or so before we even see a part 4. So I know there's going to be a lot of speculation on where this goes and a lot of hype to see where it goes, especially after seeing how this one ended. So, all right, everyone. So we're going to wrap it up real quickly here with this film, The Girl with the Needle. Trailer tells grim story in gothic style. So what I'm going to do, just be respectful of everyone's time and just to kind of wrap things up here, we're just going to jump right into the trailer. And again, I will provide the link of this article in the description of the video. So if you want to get into more of the details of it, cast, crew, synopsis, you can check it out. But I want to make sure we at least get right into the trailer. So let's do that right now. So let me just get the volume fixed and we'll get going.
Vi har modtaget deres brev, hvor de anmoder om enkestøtte. Uden deres mands dødsattest kan jeg desværre ikke imødekomme deres anmodning. Min mand forsvinder ikke bare.
Karoline? Hvem er det?
Jeg er hendes mand.
Hvor har du været? Så jeg har fået et nyt liv.
Om forladelse.
Verden er et frygteligt sted. Men vi bliver nødt til at tro på, at det ikke er sådan.
Hvorfor skulle du hjælpe mig? Hvem skulle ellers gøre det?
Hvad gjorde du med dit barn?
So I'm interested. I'm already bought in. I mean, so I can tell you now, it is based, as far as timing, it's based around World War I, around that time period. So you're thinking, what, late 20s and early 30s is the time period it's taking place in. It's a black and white film. Obviously, I know many people aren't keen on subtitle films. I have no problem with subtitle films. This looks absolutely creepy, absolutely eerie. The music, the setting, the cinematography, it's black and white. It looks absolutely amazing to me. I cannot wait to watch this one. Can't wait to do a review on this one. I'm fully bought in. This type of stuff we don't see very often, and when we do see it, I think we need to capitalize on it, get out there and support it. Especially if it is a great film, we need to spread word of mouth to get it all the support it needs and all the support it deserves. Because again, if we do that, we get more films like this, and and films that lead to other things that we can all enjoy. So I'm all in for this one. So, all right, everyone, that is going to do it for the night and this episode. I just want to say thank you for spending just some of your time with me here at Reign of Horror. It is greatly appreciated. And again, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and this video. And we will see you at the next one. Peace.